We are back. It is Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the pleb sites. That's right. And joining us today, very special guest, we've got Eric, who is a fellow Bitcoiner and an open source Bitcoin UX designer. That's right. We've got somebody who helps make the UX experience better. Eric, what's going on?
Thanks, man. Yeah, just chilling, man. I'm out here in Sweden, so it's like 11 p.m. But yeah, man, I'm just hanging, excited to be on the show. And when I'm not, surfing Twitter, I'm just, designing for Bitcoin.
Awesome, man. Well, look, we're gonna try to get you to, let you go to bed as soon as possible. But first, you're gonna come down this rabbit hole with us. We are diving into the numbers. Let's do it, people.
Number time! Brought to you by Nodl. They make some of the best Bitcoin nodes, like the Nodl Dojo. Run your own version of Bitcoin Core, run Lightning Network, all in the comfort of your own home. Remember, guys, if you don't run your own node, you're using someone else's, and that's bad for privacy. So get yourself a Nodl today.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 734,000, the Bitcoin price 39,970, chain rewrite days 710, total public Lightning capacity 3,669.84, Moscow time 25:02. Blocks to the halvening, 106,000, and the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity. Samurai Whirlpool is a CoinJoin or collaborative spend. It is not a mixing service, and the unspent capacity in that pool is 4,508.62. I keep going higher. The numbers.
The numbers, but the fiat caca price is frozen in time.
What the hell is it doing, man? Like, it's having aneurysms every day, and then it comes back. It's so weird. It's these fake pumps, these fake dumps, these random candles. It's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to buy Bitcoin. Nah, not anymore.
No, it is. Bitcoin has become the new stable coin. It's Bitcoin, the stable coin. So fuck you, everyone that says it's volatile. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe not.
To me, Bitcoin's like the most conservative and safe investment I could think of. When I tell my friends that I'm in Bitcoin, they're just like, oh, what, man? That's crazy. That's so risky. But I guess I'm just like so far down. I'm just like, dude, I think Bitcoin is the most like long-term, stable, and conservative thing you can ever put your money in by far.
I was totally making a joke, but absolutely, yeah, I agree. Come on, no, because the thing is, here's the scam, right? The scam is that they tell you, right, right, because the old trope, the criticism, right, that you always hear, it's so volatile. So like to kind of troll them a little bit, Eric, I was like, oh, Bitcoin's the new stable coin, because it's been steady at 40K for a long time. But here's the thing, right? So fiat, right? They'll say it's stable, but the target inflation rate. Let's say it's an ideal world, and the Fed has everything under control, which they totally don't, and fiat's inflation rate's at 2%, right? Fine. But 2%, okay, fine. It's like you have $100, the next year you have $98, right? Bitcoin, on the other hand, yeah, it might go up and down a lot, but it goes up and down in the up direction.
Right? Yeah, it's like up and to the right.
Up and to the right. So I mean, like, it's like with fiat, it's like a steady trickle, but it's going to zero, right? Like it might be 2% this year, but that next year that shit ain't going up. Like that shit's going down. Like at least Bitcoin, yeah, it's volatile. Some years are gonna suck. But in the aggregate, right, no one's ever lost a dime in Bitcoin if you've held it for 4 years. Even if you bought a peak high. If you've held it for 4 years, you've made money, right? If you held fiat for 4 years, you are guaranteed to lose money by design. Yeah. In fact, if you're not losing money, it's bad for them, right? Like deflation, like they all freak out. Anyways, okay. So, Phil?
It's a feature, Nico.
It's a feature.
Right? Like, that's right. Our poverty is a feature of the money, right? Mm-hmm. That it makes us poor. It's fantastic. It created all kinds of businesses. Right? If our money wasn't so garbage, why would you need as many? Don't get me wrong, you would still have people doing stocks and trading and stuff like that. But would you have so many? Would you have so much volume there? Probably not if people could just hold their money. There you go, right?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say we're both fried. Okay, go.
The over-financialization. Absolutely. I completely agree. Anyways, moving on. The thing that I wanted to talk about today during the numbers section, quick update on the hash rate. Hash rate makes another all-time high. Here is the infamous China ban, where the Chinese Communist Party banned Bitcoin mining within its borders, right? You know what the excuse they use for environmental reasons, but we all know that's bullshit. And the slow trickle up, and we just broke a new all-time high. According to this estimate, where there's no way to know the hash rate, it's an estimate, and every hash rate calculator or dashboard uses a different calculation. But according to a couple, right, and this one I think is the easiest to read visually for video reasons, 220 terahashes just broke a new all-time high, and it really highlights the power of Bitcoin's incentives, right? Without any central party, making those miners move, right? No CEO, no government, no nothing, right? They moved on their own accord out of the pursuit of profit, right? Every single day, those miners weren't plugged in, people were losing money, right? And then, of course, you incorporate Bitcoin's difficulty adjustment, right? It creates a huge incentive, right? So there you have tens of millions of dollars of machines relocating from China, decentralizing the hash rate, going all over the world, specifically Texas, and I know a lot went to Canada as well. And that's where we are today, man. So what didn't kill Bitcoin made the honey badger stronger, right? And there you go, dude. In less than a year, really, right? Another all-time high. Hash rate makes another all-time high. That is absolutely crazy. And of course, the higher the hash rate, theoretically, the harder Bitcoin becomes to computationally attack, right? Or the more expensive it becomes, better said, right? So absolutely bullish. And, of course, this isn't a perfect, but usually what I've tended to notice in the past, I don't know if this is broken or not, right, is usually when the hash rate reaches an all-time high, the fiat price tends to follow, but there's usually a little bit of a lag. Let's see if that comes true. I believe it will, but again, that's speculation. We don't speculate on the show. Bill, what are your thoughts on hash rate making another all-time high?
So check this out. Just so happened that I stumbled across this terrible Bitcoin analyst that was calling 5K Bitcoin, right? And he's got the fancy charts up. He's showing you the arrows. They're going down. They're going to the lines. Okay, who cares about this guy, right? It's all freaking, he's moving air. He's doing nothing there. Anyways, okay, so the point is, right? We zoom out. This guy's calling for 5K Bitcoin. This has nothing to do with the hash rate. And that's the point. All of these people, all of these businesses, they don't give a shit. They're not listening to the noise. They're building. And they're adding the security to the Bitcoin network. So it's just so funny how we have these two very different, completely polar signals. And the hash rate is much more of a quality signal.
Yep.
I like it.
I completely agree. Anyways, Eric, what are your thoughts on the Chinese communists failing to kill Bitcoin?
Yeah, not their first fail. What's something interesting that I heard about the hash rate, about the difficulty adjustment, and I'm not sure if this is true, but someone said that there's actually a limit to how much it can correct. I think they said that it's 50%. Do you guys know if that's true? So the hash rate per difficulty adjustment, like if 90% of the hash just became unplugged, it won't just correct all the way down there. It hits like a limit.
I didn't know that.
Somebody said that on Clubhouse, and it blew my mind, but I haven't had time to actually research it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I know that, for example, and let me just pull it up so you guys understand, because it's going to be hard to visualize. For this, for example, this hash rate drop, which was immense, honestly, like it took us back to 2019 levels. This caused the largest difficulty adjustment in Bitcoin's history. It was 27.9% or 28.9%. But it was the largest in Bitcoin's history. So it would take a very large drop in the hash rate for that to happen, to be honest. So, I don't know.
We're going to have to do some digging on that, though.
Yeah,
I want to know. I definitely want to know. Like, I'm thinking Bitcoin has a built-in circuit breaker for the hash rate. I mean, that's actually pretty smart.
That's pretty cool.
But we'd have to find out what the use case is and how that came about.
Yeah, and if you're a pleb,
we know what the use case is.
If you're a pleb that knows this answer, and I know one of you is going to,
let
us know down in the comment section.
Yeah, let me know if I'm spewing bullshit or if that's true.
I don't know, right? But it's very interesting. You always find out something new about Bitcoin. So very cool stuff. Anyways, major fail for the communists, major win for Bitcoin. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail. Brought to you by Amber App. Check them out. Amber.app. You're stacking. I'm stacking. Why not stack with an app that's made by Bitcoiners? Low fees, fair spreads, smart automation. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
That's right. Nico pointed out my failure yesterday to show this as the fail, but I told him that we were going to have this tomorrow, and we do. And it's great. We have it for Eric, our guest. We love the Economic Forum. They are the #1 cheerleaders of Bitcoin. They do the best advertising. They have so many eyeballs looking at it. It is fantastic. Anyways, all right, this video is going to tell us why we need to change Bitcoin, and it is sponsored by the World Economic Forum. Actually, a fellow Bitcoiner pointed out they wanted to know if this was satire or not. No, this is not satire. This is really from the World Economic Forum. Let's take a look at this tweet before we hit play. A change in the way Bitcoin is coded could almost eliminate its environmental impact. If you only change the code. Only
you didn't pronounce it correctly, dude. Obviously,
what, Bitcoin?
You have to say it in Klaus's accent.
Oh, a change in the way Bitcoin is coded could almost eliminate its environmental impact.
And then it will enable the Great Reset.
We will all be slaves. We will all be slaves. But I'm saying that as Klaus. He's not saying we. Damn it! Stupid inclusion. Okay, here we go. Let's hit play. Let's watch this. Okay, we're not going to watch the whole thing because all they're going to do is tell us a whole bunch of stuff about Bitcoin we already know. I'm sorry?
No, I was saying we get the FUD by now.
Yeah, exactly, right? We get the FUD by now. So look, okay, before we continue with this, you saw what they said about Bitcoin's energy usage. We understand exactly what they're doing with this. I just wanted to point out from the watcher.guru account, this just in, Bitcoin network electricity usage dropped by 25% in Q1 2022 compared to the same period last year, according to a report by the BMC. So that is very interesting. And you know that the World Economic Forum isn't paying attention to that because, again, they're spinning the same narrative they spun with the internet. The internet's going to use all the electricity in the world, all the energy. Well, it's the same thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to destroy the world and it's going to boil the oceans. But the other point of this, I think what people are really maybe not seeing, and this is what I started to notice as I was watching this, is that they know for sure, they are telling us that they can't beat Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. They can't do it. They know that all their shitcoins aren't going to work. So what can they do now? They have to socially attack Bitcoin. Don't get me wrong. They can definitely get all of the countries to try and outlaw it and do all that stuff. And sure, it's going to affect the hash rate, cause the price to plummet, make it so people like us can stack even more. Okay, fine. But at the end of the day, they won't be able to stop it. So the only thing they can do now is coerce it. And this is what they're doing. They tried with the shitcoins, but they saw the resistance. Trust me, if all of a sudden they started to see great applause for their Ethereum and their Celo and all this garbage, they would have been thrilled. That's not what happened. Anyways, Nico?
Yeah, dude, spot on. And I just want to, I want to point out the importance of that tweet because it got ratioed, right? The comment section, they just absolutely blew it out of the water. We had some pretty big Bitcoin heavy hitters in there, including the Chad Saylor, and he even commented. So yeah, and this is the importance of Bitcoin Twitter, right? It allows this narrative battle, right? They might be releasing this propaganda piece, but the comment section is open, right? So all it takes is just people to scroll down the comment section. Why did this get ratioed? And just people debunking this already debunked information. I don't know how many times, right? And of course, they're trying to gaslight you. They're trying to, nail down those hitting points. Bitcoin uses more electricity in the country of Denmark. We already know, yes, that might be true, but Bitcoin is using energy that was already going to waste. That's why it's so cheap, stranded energy, right? If it wasn't stranded, then it would be too expensive. But you can't discount how these propaganda, these social attacks have been successful in some places. The European Union was on the verge of banning Bitcoin's proof of work, and the New York State Assembly, which is going to set a precedent, at least for the blue states in the United States, is almost. I think they has to pass the Senate, but they're going to ban proof of work within the New York State borders for the next 2 years. Right? It's basically forever. Right. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is, and again, I think all these attacks are insincere. I think all these people know exactly what they're doing. They know it's not about the environment, right? If it was about the environment, they would be allowing more Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is actually going to facilitate the development of green energies, which would not be profitable without government subsidies. Bitcoin allows them to be profitable, right? So, yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit, right? But I think these people are going to try really hard. But, man, they must be shaking right now. The Central African Republic, you have El Salvador, you have another country that kind of made it legal tender. We're going to talk about that today, right? So the dominoes are starting to fall, right? And these people must be shaken, right? Because how are you going to stop that, right? Anyways, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Eric, what are your thoughts on Klaus? The Klaus social attacks.
It's just so ill-informed. Like, to me, the funniest thing is just that, Bitcoin is open source software, so you can change the code at any time, and numerous people can. So, like, it's like on the merits of your idea. If you truly can make a decentralized currency that like fulfills all the needs of Bitcoin and uses like less electricity, and it like has all the merits of it, and that'd be great. That'd be fantastic. Fork the code and do it. If your idea is strong enough, then the market will reward you. But no one has figured it out.
That's the problem, right? Is that's so you sent a lot of signal there, right? There was a lead there. They want to use government coercion to try to force you to use something that the free market wouldn't use on its own accord. That's the terrifying part. They know that. They know they could fork it, but that's not at all what they're trying to advertise. They're saying, listen, governments, you have to coerce these people in order to force this code change that we're advocating for, which is absolutely terrifying, right?
Let's get ready. Because at some point, we know, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, right? Like, one of the devs, right? One of the devs for Bitcoin Core, any of the devs, a group of devs, who knows? Like, it's like, it's a social attack, right? It's coercion. This is big money. This is bigger than any of us can imagine. We're talking about the world, right? We're talking about the Bank of International Settlements. We're talking about the IMF.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, but like, they're not just gonna, anyways, it's about to get very, very dystopian and Black Mirror, and yeah, we're covering it.
I work with a lot of these people, man. I work on, this is like, so on my fiat job, I work on a blockchain team, and it's a lot of like R3 Corda and like Hyperledger, just like total bullshit. And a lot of them are like convinced that like proof of work is like an environmental disaster. And sometimes I sit on these fucking meetings, I'm just like, dude, proof of work is the innovation. Like, that's the only fucking like valid use case for a blockchain is decentralized money. And it works because of proof of work. And like, you guys just don't fucking get that. Like,
no, they don't understand. It's like proof of stake. It's like they might as well just use a database, right? Like, at that point, like, and they're also advocating for a system that Ethereum hasn't even implemented yet. Like, they're advocating for something that does not exist, right? It's like, it's absolute lunacy. And this really makes me believe, right? And I struggled with this, and Phil actually saw me. I was like, dude, because at first you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're just morons, right? But there's just so much evidence and things that pop up. It's like, these people are doing it because they want to control other people. They're not doing it for the climate or the other bullshit. They're doing it because Bitcoin is the only thing, because of proof of work, that they cannot influence, right? Phil, what is the next fail?
All right, let's dive into this. Here we go. It starts with a great tweet response from Adam Back. Adam's had some good takes. I mean, he always has good takes, but I feel like recently he's upped his takes. Okay, let's dive into this right here. And then we're going to share the original video. XRP scammers who bamboozled at Greenpeace with nonsensical Bitcoin FUD are citing an undergrad class exercise to learn publishing process as if it's a paper, but makes actually falsifiable claims. Oops. And this is actually pretty interesting, okay? So the TLDR, okay, is that this person didn't write the paper, but he was consulted, okay? It was a 2-page undergrad class project teaching the writing publishing process, had nothing to do with Bitcoin, okay? But this is what Greenpeace, okay, and XRP is using to FUD Bitcoin as an academic piece, just to give some proper background, okay? So let's dive into this little video about this explanation that he gives. Here we go.
And so I ended up writing this paper and shopping it around to the SOEST school in the economics department, in amongst my professors, including Mora, Dr. Camilo Mora, who wrote the famous Mora et al. Paper that Greenpeace is touting. And what a lot of people don't know is that, in fact, Mora did not write that paper, and neither did Katie Talladay, who is a close friend of mine. It was actually written by an undergraduate class, and it's 2 pages long. And that's not really known in the conversation. So, Greenpeace and Brad Garlinghouse are out there touting a paper written by undergraduates that doesn't even describe the Bitcoin network. I may have influenced this paper by talking to all of the authors about Bitcoin, who then floated it as an idea to this undergrad class, who over the course of a semester, learns about a subject, studies a subject, writes a paper, learns about the publishing process. It's
okay. So right there, it's got nothing to do with Bitcoin.
Is that the same?
Oh, sorry, Eric, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, is that the same study that they cite for the transaction energy usage one? Okay,
that's the infamous
the per transaction. Okay.
Correct. That's the one that all the legacy media uses, and just another. So talk about misaligned incentives, right? I don't know if you guys heard that, but it was an economics class, right? Bitcoin for fiat economics, it's a fucking nightmare, right? So it's like you're not incentivized to really understand this stuff if you're in that situation. And another aspect, whether you believe that guy or not, right? I don't know, right? You could just be a guy on the internet talking shit. You don't know. But another aspect is, look, if they're all citing a paper of which has been debunked by many other papers many, many times, right? As Nick Carter has pointed out many, many times. It really goes, it really makes you question, is it really, I think they're using that paper as an end. They're using it to achieve a certain goal, right? They're using it kind of like a platform, look, Bitcoin is bad, this is why, check out this paper, check out my credentials, I know what I'm talking about. And it's absolute bullshit. Look, and it's been pretty successful. Think about it, right? They've tried to ban proof of work in Europe. They are banning proof of work in New York State, and that paper played a major influence in those bannings. So you can't underestimate whether the credibility, because it's been debunked. It's not a credible paper, but you can't deny that they're using this as a very successful social attack on Bitcoin, right? You can't deny that. So, and it all has to do with the buzzwords. It uses more electricity than Denmark. If you hear that and you don't really dig into the nuances, that sounds pretty fucking bad. It's why does it need to exist? It uses as much electricity as Denmark. It's fucking bullshit, man. It's bullshit. And I just wish that Bitcoiners stopped trying to debunk it. And I wish you guys understood that these people are not interested in that. They're interested in attacking and shutting Bitcoin down. It's not about, they know they're wrong. It's like they know, it's like they're not interested in hearing how their perspective is wrong. They're just focused on the fact that Bitcoin must be destroyed, Bitcoin must be stopped. There's no way to prove this. Even though we did find the smoking gun. Actually, Phil, we have pretty fucking good evidence. Remember that article by Forbes that European lawmakers got fucking caught with text messages openly advocating for Ethereum's proof of stake and openly going against Bitcoin's proof of work? So I'm not even going to say that. These people have been caught red-handed, right? These people can't control Bitcoin because of proof of work, right? So they're using every single mean possible to attack Bitcoin, even if it means citing a bullshit fucking paper that perhaps was written by undergraduates. Anyways, Eric, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think like what's her name, Margaret Paez, or like Jin Rousseau on Twitter. She's like the environmentalist Bitcoiner. She had like a good kind of point on this, where like it might be worth going on the offensive on their terms. So like getting funding, putting something that's peer reviewed in their academic, ivory tower, legal jargon, whatever fucking bullshit framework they need, so that you can then put that in front of lawmakers and it can have just as much weight as like this like nonsense FUD that they're throwing out. I think she was trying to get funding for that. And I know like you said, like we need to stop debunking it. And like, I kind of agree. I think we should actually go on the offensive more, but to me, that's part of it. It's just like, why not like try to attack them from that angle? And I think Tony Cross is trying to do that as well.
I think so. So Jean is awesome. She's coming on the show. I think these people are just not interested in hearing it. Like they're just not interested.
No, they are not.
They're not interested. They'll totally gaslight you. Like it's gotten to that point. Like, because I've seen Nick Carter go from and he has the creds and he has the capability of being able to write that goddamn academic paper, right? With the properly cited and whatever. And these people do not give a fuck. And I've seen Nick transition on Twitter.
Yeah. He's so jaded now.
Go from, hey, let me academically rebuke these things, to fuck these people. Let me just troll them. Right? Yeah, man. Look, to the point that in his fucking Twitter bio it says financially illiterate psychopath. Right? So, and I've commented many times on his stories, like, dude, like these people are not interested in debunking. They're interested in power. And Bitcoin is a threat to that power. Right? So it's like I wouldn't even play by their rules. Like I would just focus on building out mines, decentralization. That's what you have to focus on. And they can go pound sand. Like the Chinese Communist Party, the same shit, bro. It's like, we're gonna ban Bitcoin mining. Just made it stronger. So it's like, I welcome more attacks. Like I hope they keep going, but I think that trying to negotiate with these people is a waste of time, because that's not what they're looking for.
They're citing something that they know is disingenuous. You said it right there. This has nothing to do with the truth. This has everything to do with power, control, the narrative, and I don't know, ignorance and possibly clowns.
Yeah. No, and mind you, if you guys are new to this channel, you could see Phil and I struggling about this specific subjects over the last 6 months, and me and him were going back and forth. It's like, maybe they're just naive. Maybe they just don't know any better. No. It's gotten to a point where it's clearly a combined attack. Like it's like they're using the same wording. Bitcoin bad, proof of stake good. In Europe, in the United States, in New York, it's like that isn't a coincidence. That isn't a coincidence. And then to add a little bit more Alex Jonesy, okay? Coincidentally, right? The Ethereum board, one of the board members of the Ethereum Foundation happens to be on the World Economic Forum's blockchain initiative, and you just saw that propaganda piece by the World Economic Forum. Like, you call me a conspiracy theorist, but holy cow, that is a lot of coincidences, man.
And there's the publication that's owned by Vitalik's dad that released the World Economic Forum proof of stake attack on proof of work paper.
Dude.
Right? That little document with the little pictures showing the Bitcoiners as robbers, right? We're robbers, but the people that are stealing your value, they're not thieves. It's all good. Right? Society, I'm fixing it.
Dude, it is, man. It's
lunatics.
It is absolute lunatics.
Okay.
But anyways, Phil, it's time for
The Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, articles, comics by actual Bitcoiners. Every cover has different artwork. This is the artwork for Volume 10. It recently came out. And this is Volume 11. It just dropped. And they're scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. So get your physical print of Citadel 21 today before it runs out. All right, everybody. Welcome to Meme Review, where we review Bitcoin memes. Because Bitcoin memes are very important in this narrative trench warfare. They're very, very useful. And we'll see why in a second. Mysterious voice. Anyways, first meme brought to us by LOP. Hyper-Bitcoinization. Panama, Central African Republic, El Salvador. Very, very good meme by LOP. Moving on to the next one. This one absolutely hilarious. By Crypto Graffiti. Praying for your shitcoin to pump, but Jesus read the white paper. Alright, next one by LOP. Poor people with entrepreneurial spirit, government. You need a permit and license for that. All right, next one. Yep. All right, this is so I mentioned it, how Bitcoin memes are important in this narrative battle that we're fighting. This is a good example, right? This is about Bitcoin is saving. Cry harder. No, Bitcoin bad for environment. What? I can't hear you. Oh man. All right. See, look, when I said we're at the point where it's not about like, talking with these people, just ridicule them, bro. It's at that point. And I referenced the ratio. Not only did they get ratioed on likes, they got ratioed on retweets. So you could pretty make a good argument that a lot of those were quote tweets. But 3,559 comments. Oh man. But still, at least 1,000 useful idiots that still like the tweet. Anyways, moving on. By Phil's alternative account, Copper Nixon. Simply Bitcoin, a prophecy foretold.
Shout out to the zoo.
Nice.
And the Central African Republic and Chad. And this isn't a joke. The actual country above the car is the Chad. Anyways, moving on. In Africa, we ask how Bitcoin. Americans ask why Bitcoin. The why is so obvious. Right? Money, personal sovereignty, technology, right? And Bitcoin is the perfect in between. There's a Japanese word for that. I just can't think of it. But yeah, awesome memes. Especially that last one. I always say this. I'm like, dude, I've been educating on Bitcoin for 6 years now. And one of the things that I've always noticed is people in Western countries are always like, why does this need to exist? Whereas in people in developing countries are like, this is fucking amazing. A non-government money that can't be confiscated for me. That is genius, right? And that is something that a lot of Canadians actually found out in the last year, why something like that is so important. So I've been teasing Phil about this. I have opened the Lucho thing. It has opened. It's right here, but I'm not going to show it to him today. I'm going to show him the care package that was in there. I'm going to go one item at a time, so it's going to take him a long time. First item is the Lucho Paletti patch. That is my score for today. What about you, Phil?
I'm very fortunate I do have that patch, so I don't necessarily I don't feel that I need it because I have it.
Yeah, but do you know
all this other stuff that I don't know?
What this is? You don't know what this is.
I don't. And it's killing me. Okay, anyways, I'm going to give it, right? I've told you a million times. I've got almost nothing left over here and I'm moving. So, I've got this fold sticker, right, of the spinning wheel. It's actually really cool. Yep, gotta love Fold app. Stacking sats while buying useless crap. It's good times.
That's a good score. Anyways, Eric, what would you give those memes?
I'm giving this a solid just a calculator. Just a calculator. You already know.
Well, if you know, you know. That is a good score. It might be a calculator. It might not be. Who knows? Very good score.
Is that a case around that calculator?
Oh, interesting. Anyway,
Nice.
guys, we want to know if you agree with our scores, you disagree. Let us know down in the comment section. Comment. And, of course, make sure to join our Telegram group. Link us some dank Bitcoin memes to review. And make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms because we do talk shit about the World Economic Forum, like Rumble.com and our personal favorite, BitcoinTV.com. They don't censor there because Bitcoin TV. Anyways, Phil, it's time for
The Daily News.
Brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make some of the best Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed art sculpture grenade. Opens up, you put your favorite hardware wallet in there. You can also get this in any custom color your heart desires. I just happen to get this in blue because it looks badass. You could also get it in Peter Schiff colors, but it has a Bitcoin logo, so you know it pisses him off. And you can take advantage of the link down below to get 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. All right, everybody. So, very, very big deal. So it's not legal tender. I would make the argument that this is better than legal tender because essentially what Panama is doing is that they're legalizing Bitcoin within its borders. And not only that, there's no capital gains for Bitcoin as well. So that's absolutely awesome. And again, lots of signal here. Probably hasn't been pointed out by anybody else. The Bitcoin law in El Salvador passed with the vast majority. In the Central African Republic, if you remember yesterday's episode, also passed with the vast majority. This bill passed 40-0. Okay? So remember, when the IMF starts having a titty attack, right, about this happening in other countries, they're essentially rebuking the democratic process and the sovereignty of those countries. Because the people of Panama, or the people of Panama elected these representatives, and these representatives passed the bill 40-0. Same thing happened in El Salvador, same thing happened in the Central African Republic. So remember, when they lose their shit, remember what they are actually saying. Even though these countries chose, and the people of these countries chose to make Bitcoin, or to essentially forward the Bitcoin revolution, we at the IMF still don't agree with that. And the reason they don't agree with that, I'm going to add a little bit of Nico bias, is because they're fucking central planners. That's why, right? If you still don't believe me, the head of the IMF, Georgina something, right, fucking graduated from the Karl Marx Institute in economics. Karl Marx said, what the fuck? No, political economics. It's fucking crazy. All right, moving on. Okay, so there's a picture of the Panamanian politicians with the bill to regulate the commercialization and use of Bitcoin and shitcoins. All right, so all seem very happy, but you can't tell with the chin diapers on. Anyways, Panama Assembly passes bill regulation Bitcoin/shitcoin. Is an awesome article by Bitcoin Magazine. Panama has unanimously approved overhaul legislation to regulate the Bitcoin and shitcoin markets in the country in a move that takes the burgeoning industry out of a current gray zone. The new legislation regulates the trading and use of Bitcoin and shitcoins, the issuance of digital value, tokenization of precious metals and other assets, payment systems, and dictates other provisions, the country's legislative assembly tweeted on Thursday. The bill seeks to provide regulatory clarity for the optional usage of cryptocurrencies as payment, and Panama Silva added. Moreover, the goal is to incentivize foreign companies to open offices in Central American country, as well as a tool to foster local entrepreneurship in the Bitcoin and shitcoin services business. Over 50% of Panama's population doesn't have a bank account. That's a lot of signal right there. And another thing, and this is why I said that I kind of like this a little bit better than the legal tender law. And the reason for that is this. The bill seeks to provide regulatory clarity for the optional usage of Bitcoin and shitcoins as payment in Panama, right? It's not tender by decree, right? It's not tender by coercion. It's optional, but you still can use it as tender. So technically, I would say this is better than legal tender because it's saying, hey, it could be used as a currency, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to, right? So I don't know, man. And another awesome point about this, and shout out to Abelito Panama, and he was right when he said this was going to happen in Panama, by the way. So shout out to him. He came on the show about 6 months ago. He says, welcome to Panama Bitcoiners. You will be able to buy and sell goods and services and pay your taxes in Bitcoin. Panama's territorial tax system will also apply to Bitcoin, meaning 0% capital gains taxes. Panama has a long tradition of legal/banking services, and it's beautiful. And I agree, it is fucking beautiful. So shout out to the Panamanians. Yeah, it's not the fancy buzzword legal tender, but if you look into the details, Nico would like to believe it's better. Phil, do you agree? Do you disagree? How do you feel about this, my bro?
Phil also believes that this is better than coercion and legal tender. I like this a lot more because if they treat it this way, it inherently, how could I say this? It essentially inherently gets all the properties of their legal tender by way of payment and the tax code and everything. So don't get me wrong. I think this is awesome. I think that this is absolutely fantastic. And the thing I wanted to point out, Nico, is I thought that CBDCs were going to help the unbanked. We covered that last week in our big long paper, right? The consensus was proposing the CBDCs, and really the main problem is to help the unbanked with an exclusionary system that requires pretty much almost, no, I'm kidding. I was going to say your firstborn, but I'm kidding. I know we're not that bad yet. They're not there yet, but sometimes I feel like that's what they're asking for. Okay, I'm just saying the process is it's definitely dehumanizing, to say the least.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, you know what? Panama did it right, and the CBDCs, they don't stand a chance.
I completely agree. They don't fucking stand a chance. Anyways, Eric, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's funny how these announcements just like kind of keep happening, and like they're news, but they're not like seismic. But like 5 years ago, this would have like shaken like the earth on Bitcoin. And what I think is most interesting about the Panama is just that like it really lets like Bitcoin's game theory play out naturally, right? So without like having to enforce it by legal tender, it's just like let's give people the option to accept the soundest, hardest, like best money that human beings have ever invented in human history. And like by nature of Bitcoin's own properties, right, the way that it operates, its own protocol, like it's gonna win just off that. It doesn't need anything else. Just the way that Bitcoin has gone from whatever 0 to like 69K at its highest. It does that all by the nature of its own properties, the nature of the protocol. It doesn't need, VC funding. It doesn't need governments making it legal or illegal. It's gonna just keep rolling and doing its thing. So yeah, I'm bullish. And for the developing countries, to me, it's like a fucking no-brainer. I think they should all just be like embracing this because there's like just asymmetric upside to making Bitcoin legal tender or making Bitcoin legal in your country. You have absolutely nothing to lose. G7 countries and everything have everything.
They have everything to lose.
I'm sorry, yeah, they have everything to lose from this. And like, if you're a developing country, you have you can only gain from this. So I think it's just going to keep happening.
I completely agree. Well, guys, now you got the good news. Now, listen, there's no bad news in Bitcoin. It's just you kind of have to stay on top of the attacks. And I know that a lot of other channels don't focus on this shit because it's not clickbaity, doesn't make the news. But we pride ourselves on covering this shit. The continued fucking attack on Bitcoin continues. Shout out to No Bullshit Bitcoin. We get a lot of our news from them. Coinbase releases Coinbase Intelligence Surveillance Suite. Coinbase Know Your Customer, Coinbase Tracer. Customers will include financial institutions, businesses, governments, and law enforcement agencies. And here's the official announcement from Coinbase, right? Dude, I think that all of these systems, right, are literally the antithesis. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly.
You did.
Of Bitcoin. Literally, Know Your Customer and Bitcoin are not compatible, right? What can happen though is on the on and off ramps, right? If you're selling your government cuck money to Bitcoin, for sure, Know Your Customer applies. But once you're in the Bitcoin ecosystem, which is why it's so fucking important to take self-custody, I always say this, right? Bitcoin doesn't care, which is why, connect the dots, everybody, which is why you have hit pieces by the World Economic Forum saying that proof of work is bad. Proof of work is what makes all of this shit obsolete. They could pound sand. They could say, oh, no, you're a customer. Bitcoin does not give a fuck because of proof of work. But it's not only Coinbase, right? And why is Coinbase developing this type of shit, right? So not only does New York ban proof of work, they also fucking, man, double stab. But this is a new announcement. So not only do they have the bit license, right? They also want to add even more regulation, even more red tape.
Of course.
So this came out either this is today? Yeah, today. The purpose of this guidance called all virtual currency businesses and entities licensed under 23. I'm sure that's a bit license. And it just added a bunch of shit. So let me get through some of it. The purpose of this guidance from the New York State Department of Financial Services is to emphasize to all virtual currency businesses, entities that are either licensed under blah, 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 the importance of blockchain analytics to effective police processes and procedures, including, for example, those relating to customer due diligence, transaction monitoring, and sanction screening. Financial activity involving virtual currency can involve, among other things, different sources, destinations, and types of funds flows that are found in more traditional fiat currency contexts. For example, virtual currency such as Bitcoin and shitcoin Ether can be transferred peer-to-peer directly from one individual or entity to another pseudonymously, absent the use of regulated third parties. You hear the language there, right? So without a regulated third party, you could transfer Bitcoin and shitcoins peer-to-peer, right? That might be a problem. And remember, these laws, the way they function is you try to set a precedent and then you build from there, right? Thus, to effectively address compliance requirements under the New York banking law, and the New York Financial Services Law, as well as the Federal Bank Secrecy Act and Office of Foreign Asset Control requirements, VC entities must be sure that their compliance programs fully take into account the unique characteristics of virtual currencies. So, if you want to know why half the world or 40% of the world remains unbanked, that is all why, right? Think about it. For you to use the money, you have to check all of those fucking boxes. Whereas Bitcoin, you literally just download a wallet and now you have access to the world economy, right? But they would like you to believe without all of this shit, the world economy would burn down. That's a fucking lie. Anyways, check it out. Because now they don't fucking care anymore. They're just fucking, letting you know how they feel. Phil, check this out. This is pure clown world shit. While such characteristics present compliance challenges, they also present new possibilities for control measures that leverage these new technologies. It's not even about compliance. Now they're just saying it's about control, everybody. Given the above noted characteristics of virtual currencies, the department emphasized the importance of blockchain analytics to VC entities in addressing, for example, anti-money laundering requirements and across a range of AML and OFAC related compliance controls, included but not limited to, and this is essentially what they're doubling down on, augmenting, so making the know your customer even more intense, right? Conducting transaction monitoring of on-chain activity and conducting sanction screening of on-chain activity as well, right? So, dude, there, man, and the reason that I highlighted the peer-to-peer aspect of that is because they specifically said in the text that peer-to-peer was going to be almost impossible to do this to. So at what point, I wouldn't be surprised that in a couple years, hey, no more peer-to-peer, because it doesn't check all of these boxes and it makes it difficult to do all of these things. If you don't believe me, if you still think I'm a conspiracy theorist, that's exactly what South Korea did, an exchange in South Korea did. They banned peer-to-peer transactions because it didn't fit the know your customer thing. So again, dude, this is scary, guys, and again, this just highlights how fucking evil Coinbase is. Like, they don't give a fucking flying fuck. They just don't care. They'll sell their fucking soul. They don't give a shit if it means making a little bit more money. They're fine to it. They're like, and again, I think there's going to be a cosmic clash between this bureaucratic system of control, which is the AML KYC system, and the Bitcoin system, because the Bitcoin system makes that system completely obsolete. And if enough people opt out and have their money in Bitcoin, they could go pound sand. It doesn't fucking matter. But they don't want you to know that. They would like you to think that their systems of surveillance and control are still necessary for the world to function, and that there could be no other system. It's the only system available. Bitcoin is working just fine, and none of those things are on Bitcoin. they're inherent to the on and off ramps. So if you sell Bitcoin for fiat, which I don't know why you would do that, yeah, it applies there because government could capture it, but it doesn't apply to Bitcoin. I think these systems are going to clash one day. I think it's going to be a major contentious issue, and this is just more developing. It's just heading in that direction. Phil, what are your thoughts on this?
I think that this really confirms our thoughts on the, I think they were called the neutrino hack team, right? That's who Coinbase essentially bought. They hired a whole bunch of them, right, from this hack team that was sharing government secrets and stuff like that. So now we come to fruition, right? Now we understand exactly what they were doing. They were hiring these people to help them develop these tools. So thank you for continuing to be, terrible, shitty human beings. And of course, following their incentives. You got to remember this, though, about Coinbase. They're not a private entity anymore. They're beholden to shareholders and a board of directors now. So they have to grind out those frickin' predictable profits like there's no tomorrow until they decide to take themselves public or private, or somebody else takes them private. Not that I give a shit because I can't stand Coinbase, but I'm just saying they now have the immense pressure of churning out those pennies every quarter, right? They have to prove it because boards of directors, they don't give a shit for the most part what you do. They just want to see their number go up. So Coinbase now has to do all kinds of crap like this, which, don't get me wrong, Brian Armstrong never had a problem shilling absolute trash that fleeces noobs. So this is just, I think, par for the course for Coinbase. Now, that article that you brought up, though, was that New York State regulation? Mm-hmm. Is that what that was? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just want to make sure that they just literally disappear into the asshole of the country.
Dude, it's
if there was an asshole in the country, that's where they're disappearing to. And if there wasn't one, they just became it.
That's the thing. Kidding me? Like in the financial world before, you had no other option. Now, it's like, okay, like, sure. Miami, come to Miami, baby, right? And that's exactly that's the play that Miami's doing, right? Miami's trying to take that throne away from New York. So it's like you guys had no choice because of the physical location, but when it comes to Bitcoin and shitcoins, right? To be fair, it's both industries, right? Doesn't matter. Look at what happened. Even when it comes to physical hardware, look what happened in China. All those miners just left. Have fun staying poor, China, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. So New York, you know how you shot yourself? You shot yourself in the foot with the bit license. You shot yourself in the other foot, and now you're on the floor like, fuck, yeah, help me. And not only that, you fucking banned Bitcoin mining too. So you shot yourself in the third foot. 3 feet. Phil.
Did they think the miners were just going to throw up their hands and say, oh, well, they shut us down, we're done, and just walk away from all of that investment? Like, I don't understand something. They're not walking away. Like, you know what I mean? The IMF and all of these agencies, they're not walking away from their investment. So why would they think that the miners are going to be like, oh, you know what? I'm just throwing up my hands. I'm done. Come on. These people are idiots.
They don't understand
Useful
incentives,
idiots.
dude. They don't understand incentives, dude. But anyways, Eric, what are your closing thoughts, my dude?
Yeah, man. So it's frightening. It sounds like, to your point, they're setting the precedent for the ability for people to transact peer-to-peer is dangerous, and we need to prevent people from doing that. And the only way that they can do that is through the on-ramps, because Bitcoin natively, there's nothing stopping you once you have the private keys from transacting peer-to-peer. So they're going to try to hit the on-ramps. I think the European Union will do that. We already saw them try to do that with like unhosted wallets. I want to believe that America will hold out against that, just because there is a stronger framework of defending property rights and individual freedom and self-sovereignty in America than there is in the European Union. So, but maybe that's me being a little bit too optimistic. We saw something kind of similar to this with encryption and like Phil Zimmerman and the PGP wars in like the late 80s and in the 2000s. But even then, like the DOJ came after Zimmerman, for munitions violations and stuff. So like they're going to fight hard, but I want to believe, maybe I'm being too optimistic, that in America there's a precedent for enough free speech and property rights that we will be like, no, like this is absurd.
I think that the federal government has the most to lose with this, but the states' governments have the most to win. And I think that because of how the American government is structured, meaning individual states have so much sovereignty, right? It kind of creates a better flag theory, right? So it's like, fine, California, New York, have fun staying poor. Texas, Florida, It's like, okay, we'll take your fucking business. And then you already see this with the vast amount of population that is leaving California, New York, and they're coming to Florida and Texas, right? So, and Wyoming's another state. So I think as long as there's like an Alamo state, right, which is really, it looks like it's being Texas right now. I know Wyoming is betting hard on this. I think that there's hope in America, and perhaps what we'll see is something similar to the marijuana industry, where marijuana on a federal level is illegal, but on a state level it's legal, right? And then the states are just like, yeah, you go fuck yourself. But this is money. There's a lot more at stake. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why do you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. I heard something interesting today. Somebody talked about storing their seed as a tattoo on themselves. No, do not store your seed as a tattoo on yourself. Instead, store it in the cipher wheel or the cipher grid. They both come with a tamper-resistant wire, but the grid also comes with a punch tool. We've got BTCPay Server version 1.5.0 that was released. It's down below in the show notes. Guys, I'm hearing that is a huge release for BTCPay Server. Anyways, our audio-only stuff, right? Got to get this right today. Anyways, don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, fountain.fm, you could stream us sats through Breeze.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys, before we go, I want to give a very special shout out to our awesome clothing sponsor, RepresentLTD.com. Phil and I wear the hoodies every single day. He has the gray one. I have the camo one. This is a revolution, right? At the end of the day, proper attire. But yeah, check out rephard.com, and you can take advantage of the link down below to get 10% off. And there's a promo code as well. And I also want to give a special shout out to our awesome guest. His name is Eric. You can go give him a follow on Twitter at UXEric_. He is a UX designer focused on open source Bitcoin projects, and that definitely means he's a friend of the show. Definitely give this guy a follow. He has some awesome projects. Guys, that was the show. If you like the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from the World Economic Forum and the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode.
Another country, another government, another block. TikTok. We win.